The neuroscience behind happiness. Happiness is complex and multi-phase emotional state that has intrigued philosophers, psychologists, and scientists for the century. In recent decades, advances in neuroscience have allowed us to peer into the inner working of brain and gain unprecedented insight into the biological underpinning of happiness. In this video, we will explore neuroscience behind happiness, examining the key brain structure, neurotransmitters, and neuronal process involved in generating and sustaining positive emotional states. So let's start with the neurobiology of pleasure and reward. At its core, happiness is closely linked to brain reward and motivational system, which has been conserved through evolution. This system plays a crucial role in driving behavior essential for survival and reproduction. However, in humans, they also contribute to complex and emotional experiences, including subjective feeling of happiness. So what is a reward circuit? The brain reward circuit is centered around the mesolimbic dopamine system, which includes several key structures. The ventral tegment area, which is VTA, in the midbrain, that is the primary source of dopamine neuron in the rewarding circuit. The nucleus accumbens, that is often the brain pleasure center, that is a structure in the basal forebrain that play a key role in processing rewarding stimuli. The prefrontal cortex is involved in executive function, decision making, and cognitive aspect of reward processing, while often associated with fear and negative emotion. Next, the amygdala also process positive emotion stimuli. Lastly, the hippocampus. So the hippocampus is crucial for memory formation and contextual learning related to reward experience. When we experience something pleasurable or rewarding, the VTA release dopamine, which flood the nucleus accumbens and other region in the reward circuit. This dopamine release is associated with feeling of pleasure, motivation, and the reinforcement of behavior that led to the reward. Now we look into the neurotransmitter in the happiness. So several neurotransmitters play a crucial role in generating and modulating happy state. One of them is dopamine, often called feel-good neurotransmitter, that is central to reward, motivation, and pleasure. It's released in response to reward stimuli and help reinforce behavior that lead to positive outcome. And the next is serotonin. So serotonin is involved in the mood regulation, sleep, and appetite. Balanced serotonin levels are associated with feeling of well-being and happiness. And the next is endorphin, which are natural opioids, are released in response to pain and stress, but also during pleasurable activities. They contribute to feeling of euphoria and reduce pain perception. And next is oxytocin, often referred as a love hormone. So oxytocin is involved in social bonding, trust, and attachment. It plays a crucial role in happiness derived from social connection. And next neurotransmitter is GABA, which is gamma aminobutyric acid. So GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter that helps reduce anxiety and promote relaxation, contributing to overall well-being. So what are the types of happiness? So we'll look into the types of happiness, a neurobiological perspective. So recent research suggests that happiness can be characterized into different types, each associated with distinct neurobiological patterns. We can also broadly classify these into three categories: wanting, approaching, and pleasure. Next, avoiding, departing, and relief, and non-wanting, staying, and satisfaction. The first type, wanting, approaching, and pleasure, that is characterized by the anticipation and experience of reward. It involves activation of mesolimbic dopamine system, increased activity in nucleus accumbens and ventral striatum, and release of dopamine and endogenous opioid. This form of happiness is often associated with goal-directed behavior, novelty seeking, and euphoria of achieving desired outcome. It's particularly prominent in young individuals and linked to the pursuit of autonomy and excitement. The second category is avoiding, departing, and relief. So it relates to the elevation of negative state or the successful avoidance of threat. It involves activation of amygdala and hippocampus, modulation of hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, and the release of endorphin and reduction in stress hormone like cortisol. So these types of happiness is often experienced as relief or sense of safety. It's particularly relevant in the context of stress management and coping, which become increasingly important in middle age. The third form, non-wanting, staying, and satisfaction, that is characterized by contentment, inner peace, and sense of fulfillment. It involves increased activity in prefrontal cortex, particularly the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. Enhance activity between the prefrontal cortex and limbic region, and balance activity across the multiple neurotransmitter system. These types of happiness is often associated with mindfulness, acceptance, and sense of meaning. It tends to become more prominent in older age, contributing to satisfaction paradox, where older often report higher level of life satisfaction despite facing more health challenges. Now we'll look into neuroplasticity and cultivation of happiness. One of the most exciting discovery in neuroscience is the remarkable plasticity, its ability to change and adapt in response to experience. This plasticity extends to the neuronal circuit involved in happiness and well-being, suggesting that happiness is one of the fixed trait but a skill that can be developed and strengthened over time. So several mechanisms underlying the brain capacity for changes. Synaptic plasticity involves the strengthening or weakening of connection between neurons based on their pattern of activity. Neurogenesis is the formation of new neuron, particularly in the hippocampus, which is involved in memory and emotion regulation. Structural changes refer to alteration in the size and density of various brain regions in response to repeated experiences or practice. So functional reorganization involves change in how different brain regions communicate and work together. So based on our understanding of neuroplasticity, several practices has been shown to promote positive changes in the brain and enhance happiness. Like mindfulness meditation has been shown to increase gray matter density in the region associated with emotion regulation, enhance connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and amygdala, that improving emotional control and reduce activity in default mode network, which is associated with rumination and unhappiness. Next is gratitude practice that can increase activity in the medial prefrontal cortex, a region rewarded in learning and decision making, and enhance dopamine and serotonin release that promoting feeling of well-being. Next is regular exercise. Regular physical exercise promotes neurogenesis in the hippocampus, increase the release of endorphin and other mood-enhancing neurotransmitters, and reduce inflammation and stress, which can negatively impact our mood. Next is engaging in positive social interaction can stimulate oxytocin release, promoting feeling of bonding and trust, and activates reward circuit that reinforcing pro-social behavior. Learning to reframe negative experience in more positive light, known as cognitive reappraisal, that can enhance activity in the prefrontal cortex and reduce amygdala reactivity to negative stimuli. So now let's explore the neuroscience of sustained happiness. While momentary pleasure and short-term positive emotion are important, sustained happiness and well-being involve more complex and enduring neuronal process. So research has identified several key factors that contribute to long-term happiness from a neuroscientific perspective. So the ability of savor positive experience is crucial to long-form happiness. This involves prolonged activation of reward-related brain region, particularly the ventral striatum and ventromedial precortex, and enhance functional connectivity between these regions and other parts of the brain involved in memory and emotion regulation. Practice that promotes savoring, such as mindfulness and gratitude exercise, can help strengthen these neuronal patterns over time. Next, the resilience or the ability to bounce back from the adversity. That is a key component of sustained happiness. Neurobiologically, this involves more efficient regulation of the amygdala, prefrontal cortex, faster recovery of baseline activity in stress response brain region following negative events, and enhanced connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and emotion processing region. Practices that promote emotional regulation, such as cognitive rephrasal and mindfulness, can help build these resilience-related neuronal pathways. Enhancing in pro-social behavior, an act of kindness has been shown to promote sustained happiness. This involves activation of reward circuit, particularly the ventral striatum, release of oxytocin, promoting feeling of social connection, and increased activity in temporoparietal junction and the other region involved in empathy and perspective taking. Regularly engaging in the act of kindness and cultivating compassion can strengthen these neuronal patterns that contributing to long-term well-being. Next, the sense of meaning and pursuit in the life is strongly associated with sustained happiness. Neurobiologically, this involves enhanced connectivity between the default mode network and execute control network that increase activity in ventromedial prefrontal cortex when reflecting on the personal value and goals, and greater interaction of emotional and cognitive process across multiple brain regions. So the practices that promote reflection on personal value, goal setting, and engagement in the meaningful activity can help strengthen this neuronal pattern. So in conclusion, the neuroscience of happiness reveals that our emotional well-being is intricately tied into complex interplay of neurotransmitter and cognitive process in brain. While we are influenced by the genetic predisposition and life circumstances, the plasticity of our brain offers hope and opportunity. Through intentional practices and lifestyle choices, we can shape our neuronal architecture to promote greater happiness and well-being. And the journey towards happiness is not about achieving a constant state of pleasure or avoiding all negative experiences. Rather, it's about developing a resilience and the balanced brain that can navigate the full spectrum of human experiences with great ease. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.